Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
Hey, this is May, and you're listening to IndusVox Media's IVM Likes. It's about stuff that we like. Could be anything. Could be me. Could be you. Could be girls. Could be boys. So right now, we only talk about film, book, and TV shows. And with me is our founder, Amit. And we've got our head of production, Sharanya. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi. So now it's my responsibility today to recommend a TV show.
Right.
And Sharanya, you're going to be recommending a book. And
Yes.
Amit will be telling us about a film.
Yes, I will.
So let's kick it off with you, Sharanya. Let's kick it off with a book this time around.
Sure. So the book I'm recommending, initially when I decided to recommend this book, it was because the movie based on this book was supposed to come out in 2017.
Okay.
But I hear now it's been pushed to next year. It's never going to happen.
These production
Steven
skids.
Spielberg is doing too many other things.
Oh, I
mean,
know what
he
book
is-
you're talking about. I love this book. It's one of my favorite books.
I know. So
Yay, what fun!
Amit told me about this book a really long
really?
time ago. Yeah.
I told you about this book as well. We were at a party and I told you about this book and you were like,
Yes.
send it to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so the book is called Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. It came out in 2011. It's basically MMORPG,
MMOR. Yep.
massive multiplayer online role-playing game
Yes.
where basically it's 2044 and the world is gone to shit, right? There's global warming, there's an energy crisis, there's economically, like everything is completely shut down. Everybody lives terrible lives. Except online, where they live an amazing life. So they plug into the OSS, and that's where they live pretty much all of their life. Like, they go to school there, they make friends that way, they have jobs online, they completely live like in a SimCity kind of. It is what I imagine it to be like. But I'm assuming it's more realistic than that.
No, it's supposed to be
SimCity,
yeah,
right?
it's virtual reality, right?
Yeah.
So you feel like you're actually in a real world.
So anyway, so the game in the book is made by, not the game, the visual world, is made by this guy called James Halliday. And then we're in 2044 and he dies. So everybody who's playing the game, everybody gets a message one day saying James Halliday is dead, and it's a personal video from him where he's sitting and talking about, hey, if you're getting this video, I'm dead. And I have this amazing Easter egg Easter eggs that I've been planting through this whole game for my whole life. And if you find it, there are 3 keys to be found, a copper key or some other metal keys. If you find all 3, you get to go to the gates and you get the ultimate prize. And so far, this game Oasis doesn't have like a goal. It's like everybody lives their lives there. There's not like a race or whatever. But now he just adds
just
like
set
a
a
competition
challenge.
element to it.
Yeah.
So we're following this protagonist called Wade Watts, who's a teenager, lives a terrible life. I think his parents are possibly dead and he lives in abject poverty or whatever. But on the game, he does pretty well. Like he lives his whole life in the game. He has friends on the game, who he hangs out with virtually.
Yeah.
And then, so he decides that he's going to try and find this Easter egg.
Okay. Yeah.
A person who finds the Easter egg is called a gunter because they are egg hunters. I don't know why.
Great name.
Right.
My future child would be called Gunter Thumbs.
Right. So basically, Wade Watts is the guy we're following and he's trying to solve this. So there are no Easter eggs found for almost 7 years. And then one day, everybody wakes up, logs into their system, and there's a leaderboard with Wade's name as the first winner. And nobody knows who he
my
is.
God.
So what happens is basically, the book follows him in a way that people who are trying to win also try to start tracking him down in real life. It becomes what's the distinction between his game life and his real life?
Whoa.
It's a really fascinating story, and I wouldn't say the writing is amazing, but it's so interesting. And it's a short book, and it's so interesting. And I usually don't read so much sci-fi or this kind of stuff, but I really enjoyed it only because it feels kind of pulp-like. It's very here's a twist. Oh my God, did you know this was gonna happen? But it is very, very entertaining, and I think it's a really fun read if you have some time to kill and you just want a really immersive story. Like if you're on a flight or something. It's the best flight reading of all time. And I really enjoyed it.
I would agree with that. I really, really enjoyed this book. I thought it was really fun. So
Yeah.
I've read the book once. I've also listened to the audiobook
Will
version.
Wheaton does the
Will
audiobook.
Wheaton does the audiobook
Yeah.
version of it.
What?
Yeah. And the
This
thing
is
is, like,
fun.
all the Easter eggs are basically, questions related to pop culture, 1980s pop culture, because James Halliday was obsessed with
He's
80s
like
pop
a
culture.
Bill Gates kind of analog in
Yeah,
some ways,
yeah.
right? So
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
like somebody who grew up in the 70s and 80s, so it's all about like arcade games and all that.
Yeah, movies of that time.
Movies of that time.
Nice.
So all the people who are egg hunters are basically just like watching old movies
Yeah,
and
they
like
become
playing old
experts
games.
in like 80s and
Yeah.
80s pop culture.
Yeah,
That's so fun.
yeah. It's a really fun book. And I'm recommending it because it is just generally like a fun story to read after, like, there's a lot of books that I read that sometimes I feel like, is it going to get somewhere? But this is just a short book and it's fun and it doesn't like challenge your worldview or anything, but it's just generally entertaining to read.
Wow, man. That
Yeah,
sounds
but
like a
it
fun.
does have some deeper thoughts, right? I mean,
Yeah,
like the
because that's what I
idea-
found really fascinating about this book, about the fact that this alternative virtual world
Exactly,
is
and
about.
that becomes the real world, right? For all intents and purposes, your real world is your virtual world. Your virtual world, the reality itself, like the fact that they actually had to travel at one point in time was something that completely freaked them all out, right?
Yeah.
They didn't know what, like, oh wow, I got to go from one city to the other city.
Yeah,
That's just
like physically walk
Yeah,
somewhere
that's
else.
just
That
weird.
sounds insane. Yeah.
So there was some interesting stuff in there. I mean, I thought just in terms of like just the deeper thought of how the future is going to get. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I'm totally getting this book.
Yeah.
You should.
And
It was
now
really a fun book.
Steven Spielberg's going to make a movie. You could just
Yes.
wait for that.
That too. But maybe I could do both.
Definitely do both. Definitely do both.
Okay, so what's the film you want to recommend
Okay,
for us,
so
Amit?
the movie that I'm going to recommend is a movie called Idiocracy, directed by Mike Judge. Mike Judge is the creator of Beavis and Butthead, Silicon Valley.
Yes.
Office Space was another movie he directed. He did another really funny animated show called King of the Hill.
Yeah.
So basically, he is the director.
God,
of
King of the Hill.
Yeah, it was a funny show.
Yeah.
Man.
God, that's like such
Silicon
a
Valley,
long
by the way,
time.
like
Yeah.
the past couple of seasons, just incredible. So funny.
Yeah, I know.
So funny.
The basic story of Idiocracy is it's sometime in, I think, the late 90s or something like that, or whenever the movie came out 10 years ago, that there are two guys. So there are two leads to that movie. Owen Wilson, who is Luke Wilson, who is Owen Wilson's brother. So he's the lead, and Maya Randolph, who's been in a bunch of funny stuff. She was a Saturday Night Live player, and
Maya Rudolph.
Maya Rudolph.
Maya Rudolph. Sorry, what did I say?
Maya Randolph.
Maya Randolph. Okay, yeah, Maya Rudolph. Yeah. So the two of them were they're the leads. They are asked to participate in a military experiment. So. Luke Wilson he's in the military, but he's a librarian or a warehouse keeper or something like that. But so he's basically the most average person in the military who they were able to find. And
The most average.
yeah, that's what they were looking for. They're looking for an average person. And they weren't able to find an average woman, so they went out and found Maya Rudolph, who was a prostitute, and she was average by most this kind of things. And the experiment was essentially they were supposed to be asleep for a year, and they were going to be put to sleep for a year, and then they would wake up after that, and they wanted to see the effects and stuff like that. But the guy who was in charge of that experiment got arrested, and the experiment got lost, and it turns out that these guys were put to sleep for 500 years. And so they wake up in a world 500 years later.
Yeah.
And,
Oh my God.
so it's really funny. So what happens is over those 500 years, the world develops into what they call an idiocracy, right? Or what the movie's title is. And the reason for that is smart people don't have many kids, and they have kids really late in life. Dumb people have kids all the time. So the number of dumb people who are
The dumb population
the
has
dumb
increased
population
a
of the
lot.
world is increasing
Yeah,
dramatically.
yeah.
The smart population is becoming less and less until the point
Yeah.
where when these two guys wake up 500 years later, even though they're
Yeah.
perfectly average, they're like by far the smartest people on the planet.
That's excellent.
And they get caught up in like politics. So they have like immediate IQ tests and stuff like that when you get this. So they, when their IQ is measured, all of a sudden holy God, we got people who are this smart. We got to go find them and get them in charge of the government. So they're made
that's even
so
better.
then they're made in charge of or they're given responsibilities and it's actually, so I mean, like, there's a lot more that happens. I mean, I don't want to, if I say more about it than that, I think I start spoiling a lot of significant plot points because, I mean, like, there's some really funny ones. But it's really, so it's a really fun movie, and it's a really kind of interesting movie, especially in the current climate, right?
Oh, yes, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
2016 particularly.
Exactly. So, I mean, like, considering that, because what it does mean is that, I mean, like, it is this idea that people they don't like smart people, they're against the idea of intelligence. And you know how you kind of take that thing. So, for example, the president is played by Terry Crews from Brooklyn Nine-Nine and from Newsroom and a whole bunch of other things, right? So he's supposed to be an ex-wrestler and ex-porn star. So, I mean, that's, he's the president, right? So, I mean, like, it is this idea of celebrity, this idea of marketing. Like, so one of the things that they did really kind of interesting is they made fun of all of the existing corporations, right? So, like, Starbucks was a place where Starbucks and H&R Block were essentially sex shops. You went there for sex. Carl's was the only restaurant left or something like that. And Carl's is like this place with disgusting burgers or something like that. So the thing is, and their slogan is, I'm f***ing eating. And that's the slogan, right? FedEx is also like some sort of sex thing now. So it's FEDEXXX.
This is such terrible humor, but it's funny nonetheless.
No, it's really funny. When you watch the whole show in context, it actually is really, the whole movie in context is really, really funny. But one thing that did happen, which is also kind of interesting, is that this movie was essentially not marketed at all. The movie received zero support from the studio because at first it was after shooting. It didn't come out for a year and a half after the film was delivered. It didn't come out for like almost a year and a half. And after that, they got absolutely no marketing support. And now there are a bunch of conspiracy theories as to why that happened, right? Was it because
they made fun of
too many corporations? Though all the corporations gave them permission. They didn't do it without permission, right?
Oh.
They got written press. So like Walmart and one other corporation were the only two that didn't give them permission to do it, so they didn't use their names. All the other people were okay with them making fun of it as long as they weren't the only person being made fun of.
Okay, like that. So
yeah,
it's like...
so like Starbucks was okay with being a hand job shop just because H&R Block was a place where people went for other sex. So it was
wow, that's so funny.
I know, so it was really but it never got marketed. So could it be that corporations got pissed off? Could it be that Fox, which was the studio behind it, felt that it's too close to a lot of the stuff that they're doing in terms of mass media, where they're playing to the lowest common denominator? Nobody knows exactly why, but the movie didn't get marketed at all.
That's strange.
Yeah, I know. I thought it was, and it's a really fun movie. I mean, like all said and done,
funny plot.
It is a very, very funny movie. I mean, like if you haven't seen it, I'd absolutely say it's worth seeing.
That sounds like a really cool. Actually, you know what? I've got really interesting. Something that I know about Maya Rudolph. So her mom is actually a really well-known sort of like soul and jazz singer called Minnie Riperton. Like from like the 60s and 70s, I think. Well, yeah, the 50s and 60s. And I got into her because she was part of this like psychedelic rock band called the Rotary Connection. And she has like an amazing, if you listen, Maya Rudolph can also sing really well. But what makes Minnie Riperton, her mom, really different is she sings in the whistle register. She has like a 5-octave range in the whistle register. It's like you can hit like super, super high notes. And I've heard her, like, I'll make you listen to her. She's amazing. So again, I'm recommending a TV show, guys. Okay, so my TV show, because I love British TV, like I adore it, you know, from the days of Monty Python, you know. So for me, it's hopefully this will be easy to binge watch because I did end up binge watching this. This is a TV series called Black Books. And it stars 3 main characters. So it's a comedian called Dylan Moran, who's this ridiculous, grumpy Irish comedian. And he plays a character called Bernard Black, who owns a bookstore called Black Books. Sorry. And then you have Bill Bailey, who's also a comic, and he plays the character of Manny, who is a slightly annoying assistant. And Fran, who is his best friend and neighbor, who's played by a woman called Tamsin Greig. And it's basically these 3. And Black Books is basically this like tiny little bookshop. Again, after watching this, I wanted to have my own bookstore. And he runs this, and he's like this curmudgeon, grumpy, spiteful like shop owner, and doesn't actually care about the books or the customers, and he hates everyone. Everyone, everything. He smokes all the time. Like he's got like 3 cigarettes in his hand all the time. He's drinking excessively.
So like regular English people.
Pretty much, Irish people too, And basically, through the series, I think in like the first 2 episodes, something, Manny, who's Bill Bailey, is like the stressed out accountant, and it's really weird how him and Bernard actually meet, because basically he wants to calm down because he's super stressed from his job, and he has this little book of calm, which says things like, why don't you eat an orange peel and walk into the ocean and things like that, right? It's like
doesn't get this book.
Yeah. And what happens is, by accident, his boss comes, he gets scared, and that book falls into his soup. And then he ends up drinking it. And then how he imbibes this like little book of calm. And then eventually he meets Bernard, and it's just like super surreal and weird, but also really, really interesting. So then, and he's even more stressed out because Bernard doesn't actually care about the books, doesn't actually care. And they live so that bookstore is at the bottom floor and they live above it. And Fran is his best friend who owns a trinket shop called Nifty Gifty next door. And basically every episode is them trying to make Bernard do normal, socially acceptable things, but they just sort of, like, anything from like tidying up, just like something that basic. And throughout the series, you basically know there's a creature living in that house, but it's just like you'll hear it like scuttling along, and it's just like really weird. But but they constantly get.
This is not like one of those. It was all a dream kind of.
No, not at all. It's actually just really, really weird and surreal. So then you get. But I think all the time you sort of get sucked into Bernard's like self-destructive, mean, horrible world. Like basically because he smokes so much. Like for example, he sees Bernard holding something and he's like, oh, is that a biscuit? And he takes it and he's like, no, that's not a biscuit, that's a coaster. And he's like, where can I get more of these? And it's just like, he's just like so super bizarre. But this is made by a guy called Graham Linehan, who's the same guy that brought like the IT Crowd and Father Ted, right? The Crowd. And this also won 2 BAFTA awards for Best Situation Comedy in like 2001, 2005. There are only 3 seasons of it. And I think they're a little over like 10 episodes a season. But I loved this show, I know a lot of people have said it peaked too early, but I watched this way after it peaked, and I genuinely enjoyed this show.
When did the show come out?
I think it must have come out in like 2000, maybe, 2001.
So Bill Bailey as in like old guy Bill Bailey.
Old guy?
From like QI or whatever.
Yes.
With the ponytail.
With the ponytail and the one who does like music comedy. He does like...
Cool.
But yeah, so I really like the movie. It's also, one of those movies that are super quotable.
TV shows.
TV shows that are super quotable. I don't know why I keep saying films. I'm so obsessed with movies, guys. It's been a while since I've seen TV. But so there are some great lines in this show. For example, when Bernard's trying to convince Manny to like be part of his bookstore, he's like, the pay's not great, but the work is hard. And you're like, that is great. Something you should tell future people.
I am going to tell everybody who starts working over here.
The pay's not great,
but the work is really hard.
But I would definitely recommend watching this TV show, Black Books.
Sounds awesome.
So
I'll definitely watch it.
Our recommendations for today, Sharanya is recommending
Ready Player One.
And Amit recommends
Idiocracy.
And I recommend Black Books. And now it's time for one of my favorite sections, because I'm all about them old school shit. It's called Late to the Party. So, something that I want to talk about that I got into, actually thanks to Amit. You know what? I hadn't actually watched the entirety of the series. It's one of these series that I just watched in patches, because that happens when you watch TV. You don't ever see every single episode every single time. And it's Aaron Sorkin's Sports Night.
Yeah, I like Sorkin.
I love Sports Night.
I like
Sports Night's so good.
Yeah, Sports Night
so
is
good.
It's actually, think about it in retrospect, what a freaking cast.
Yeah.
Seriously,
Peter
what a
Krause
cast.
was amazing.
Peter Krause, Joshua Charles, Felicity Huffman, then Jeremy Molina.
I genuinely enjoyed it. And you know what? It's only 20 minutes when you're like binging it.
Yeah.
So I can just binge like some 4 episodes.
Sports Night had like the first season where they had a laugh track.
Yes,
and then they took it out.
They took it out.
Yeah,
it's such a good idea.
Yeah, it sounded terrible.
So
with
they
that.
fought over that, and also Sports Night is also the. I mean, like I'm sure you guys have heard of the West Wing, the walk and talk. Which then
of course.
Sports Night is the originator. Right? That's where it first started. The walk and talk, where basically they have this long scene while walking,
where they're walking and talking.
A classic Sorkin like move. Vulture did this article a couple of months ago of like, when you're like craving a show that you've seen before and you love, and you want to go back to it, but it's like 6 seasons or 7 seasons, and there's no way you can spend that kind of time anymore. So they'd recommend 6 or 7 episodes from any season, like throughout the show, that would satisfy that like craving for the show and would be a full story arc for you to start getting invested and it got over.
I would like to see
Sports
those.
Night has a 6-episode arc which is just after Felicity Huffman breaks up with her boyfriend and before Peter Krause tells her what he feels about her.
I think I got to look for that. I think I'd like to watch that, like 6-episode series.
That's actually a really cool idea. I like it.
What do you have? What's yours?
Oh, I am late to the party with 6 Feet Under, which I watched only maybe in March, I think. And I got super obsessed with it. I had no work, so I would sit at home all day and I'd binge watch. I binge watched about 5 seasons. There's 6 seasons of the show in about 1 month. And then I recommended it to everybody. One of my friends calls me and she's like, hey, I just finished the finale. I need to come talk to you. And I was like, so glad to like share this sadness and despair with my best friends. I'm so glad you feel the way I do. I think 6 Feet Under was such a well-written show. The finale is the most satisfying finale of any show I have ever seen.
Seriously?
The last, because they literally
I never got into 6 Feet Under. It was on TV and I never got into it.
It literally closes all the loops. There are no shows, I think, in the history.
There's always something.
Like this open-ended like fanciness. 6 Feet Under is like, this is what happens, you should know. Especially with like a show where I spent like 1 month just crying, weeping, non-stop. People are just dying all the time. Life is the worst. Everybody's so sad. And then at the end, you're like, okay, at least I feel better. Like, that's something wrong with it. It's pretty good.
Right. So what I came late to was, so I don't know if this is exactly late, but I treated it differently. So Harry Bosch is a character written by Michael Connelly. It's a long series of books. Michael Connelly is considered by many to be one of the better crime writers, more literary kind of crime writers that in his stories are up. So I read a few Harry Bosch books like in the late 90s here and there, but I hadn't like read the series. It's like a 20-book series. But I read that over the course of this year, and man, those books are good. They are so well written. I mean, it's amazing. The stories, the depth. It's like you keep hearing this cliche about how a city becomes a character, and in this case, I mean, like seriously, city is a character, right? I mean, like the city of Los Angeles is a character in this book, and the Bosch character himself is so compelling. He's like a Vietnam War veteran who. He keeps falling in love with the wrong people. He keeps the craziest, nastiest, worst possible things keep happening to him. But still, his motto for crime solving is everyone matters or no one matters. And that's just basically how he thinks of he thinks of solving murders as like a calling. And it's the idea is that he is impermeable to any kind of political pressure or any kind of pressure from bosses or anything like that, because it's like every single case I do matters or nothing I do matters. And he just he does the whole thing like that. It's just a really, really great series of books. So if you have time to read 18 300-page, 400-page books, I'd say go for it.
18?
I think it's 18.
Excellent.
Yes.
Yeah, so the year just started.
It's wonderful. 2000. We're basically giving everyone an extremely large to-do list like all the time. I love it. So I came late to the party, and we are over with IVM Likes. If you want to, you know what? We should take people's recommendations.
Yes, we should.
Yeah, for sure. Right?
Please send us stuff on Twitter, IVM Podcast. Send us stuff on Facebook, IVM Podcast page. If you got anything that you think that we should be watching or that we should, please let us know. And if we get a lot of people, we'll say something about that if we have seen it.
Cool. That was us signing out from IVM Likes. Bye.
Bye.
Hey man, just help me out, man. I need some podcasts, man. I haven't had a fix in a week. Just need some.
Don't you worry about it. I got podcasts galore for you, man. Just go to ivmpodcast.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Thanks, man. I'm gonna check it out.